Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Megan McDonald. I'm a recruitment coordinator here at NSCC, and I'm glad that you can join us for the program spotlight on the brand new Startup Accelerator program. So I'd like to start things off this afternoon with a land acknowledgement, as NSCC is in Mi'kmaq, the unceded territory and ancestral homeland of the Mi'kmaq Nation. Our relationship is based on a series of peace and friendship treaties between the Mi'kmaq Nation and the Crown, dating back to 1725. In Nova Scotia, we recognize that we're all treaty people. So the webinar today is going to work like this. Everyone right now is logged into the GoToWebinar software. So if you're watching this live, you will have a little box on your screen that looks a lot like what we have on the slide, which will allow you to ask questions. I'm going to be joined a little later on by some coworkers here at the college, and we're going to be able to see your questions as they're coming in, and we'll be able to make sure we set a bit of time aside at the end of the presentation to answer those questions. We've got you muted, your cameras are off, so we can't see or hear you. So the question chat box is really the way to send in anything that you're curious about, and we'll make sure that we've got some time to get to those. Now, if you ask questions today that don't get answered, or maybe you have questions after today's session, there is an email address here that I want to highlight for you. Feel free to take a screenshot or write this down. It's recruitment@nscc.ca, and myself or my colleagues will be able to reply to you that way. So if you have questions about the program, about student life at NSCC, about applying, now is the perfect time to ask them. If you've already applied and you have questions about your personal application, might be best to email us in recruitment so that we can connect you with admissions and look up those details that you need. Okay, let's get started. So here we are, the Startup Accelerator program. We've got all the stats for you here. So this is a certificate of professional studies. It's a brand new program we're really excited about. It's being offered in a blended delivery format that's based out of the Ivany campus in Dartmouth, as well as with some online elements. So blended means that you're spending part of your time in class at Ivany, and some of your learning is going to be happening online, so that you could do at home or from anywhere you'd like to be. It's one of our shorter programs, so it's 30 weeks of study, and it's a part-time frequency. Now, admission requirements for this are quite specific, so take a look at these. This is going to require you to be an alumni of NSCC. So it means that we require you to have an NSCC credit credential, and your program at NSCC needs to have been at least one term or longer. So really the majority of our programs are going to fall into that category. Another big part of the application is that we need to see a business concept form. So this is a worksheet that you can go through and really share with us your business idea. We want to know all of the nuts and bolts, what are you dreaming of? That is going to be part of the admissions process. There'll be a score associated with it, and you'll need to achieve at least 70% on that business concept form in order to move through the admissions process and be offered a seat. Now, I wanted to just bring up together that form on our website, just so you know where to find it when you go to apply. So here we are at nscc.ca, where I know you've all been before, which is where you signed up for the webinar. And here in the search bar, you can just type in the program name, Startup Accelerator. And then the first search option that comes up is our program page. So I'm going to click on this, and here we go. This program page has a lot of the information that we're going to chat about today, and then of course be expanding on in the webinar. So a few different tabs down here: overview, locations, admission requirements. This is the one we want to focus on. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that we have a link here to the PDF for the business concept form. So when I click on this, it's going to bring up this multi-page document. There's information for you to put in your personal details, and then some details about the overview of your business, etc. So as you scroll through, you'll be able to take some time. You'll download this form yourself, fill this out, and then you'd submit it to the admissions team when it's time to submit your application. So again, you'll be able to find that on the program page under admission requirements. Let's head back to the PowerPoint now. And I'd like to introduce to you today two folks who are here to represent the program. Luella Legg, who's faculty of the School of Business and Creative Industries, and Sherry Williams, who's the manager of entrepreneurship at NSCC. So welcome, Luella, welcome, Sherry. I know that you two have lots of great details that you're going to share about the program, and of course we'll be around to answer any questions from anyone joining us today at the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Megan.
I'll pass it on to you here. We'll start with some program highlights.
Great. Thank you, Megan. So as Megan mentioned, my name is Sherry Williams, and I manage the entrepreneurial portfolio at NSCC and have been one of the team members that have worked on the development of this program. So we're super excited about this program because it allows students to be able to kind of take their entrepreneurial learning beyond the college framework. So once you've graduated from a program at NSCC, you're able to pursue entrepreneurial learning right after that. So it allows students to pick up where they left off and take that entrepreneurial lens to whatever direction they wish to take. So in this case, we want students to have a business idea that they wish to pursue before applying. So the reason for that, we want students to come in already with an idea for a business that they would like to explore, pursue, and potentially launch. This program is not designed for people who have an interest in entrepreneurship but don't really know which idea, they don't have an idea, they don't know which direction that they want to take. So you must have a business idea coming into the application process. The program will be a mix of online, in-person, and in the field work. So online, we'll be using our Brightspace platform to provide a variety of tools and experiences for you to explore and dig a little bit further into the program itself, and then just, the entrepreneurial resources and ecosystem that surround us. In person, so we have some planned and in-person development that's going to take place at our Ivany campus. And then we also have field work that will have you out into your community exploring the entrepreneurial potential for your idea. So for Tuesday evening, so it's designed that you will be in person working with your cohort of classmates on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesday will be in person. Thursdays will be considered online. So the Tuesday evening portion of the learning will take a real strong focus on building community, building your network, networking, helping you understand, the resources that exist all around you. And that can take the shape of your community, your cohort, which means your classmates in the classroom, or the group of students that you're learning with, the entrepreneurial ecosystem resources that surround you, and your industry. So understanding, what resources are out there for your industry, what does your industry look like from an entrepreneurial perspective, and how can you tap into that with your business idea. So the goal for the entire program is for your businesses to be up and running, or as close to it as possible during the program. And at the completion of the program, the hope is that you'll be able to launch that business. So as I mentioned earlier, the synchronous portion, which is the scheduled portion of the program, will be delivered on Tuesday and Thursday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. and is attached to our Ivany campus in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. The in-person on Tuesday will be delivered in a Microsoft Teams-enabled classroom, which allows for live streaming. On Thursdays, it will be exclusively online, so your cohort will join together in the Teams environment wherever you are in the province, and both sessions are scheduled from 6 to 9 p.m. on those evening time frame. The asynchronous delivery, which is self-directed, is online and approximately 3 to 5 hours per week, depending on where you are with your idea and how deep you want to go within that. Overall, the program is 30 weeks, it's a 30-week program. It's 9.5 hours per week. So it's kind of expected that you would do 3 to 4 hours of independent work over and above the scheduled class time. And each course is approximately 4 to 6 weeks, depending on credit hours. Some of the courses are a little longer than others, depending on what it is that we're looking at delivering. I'll pass it over to Luella.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, so let's look at the course plan. So in the first semester, which would be fall, you would start your program with plan and develop your small business. If you see the bracket says 60, the values in brackets are actually the number of course hours. So this is a 60 credit hour course. And within the plan and develop your small business, you'll be validating your business idea, you'll be doing some market research, you'll have to do some customer discovery, so you'll have to be out talking to potential customers. We'll bring in some mentors for you to review your idea with, and you'll be going through several iterations of your business idea to have a really great solid foundation moving forward in the program. The next course is marketing your small business. So you'll be looking at, the 4 P's of marketing. So describing your product, setting a price, where are you going to sell it, how are you going to promote it, and everything that sort of surrounds that marketing plan around promotion. We have opportunities in every course for you to spend time in the Tuesday portion of your class talking about your idea with your fellow cohort, your fellow students, with your instructor, and also people from industry. So that's embedded right into the program. You'll then move into essential business operations. This talks about location, equipment, inventory, technology, which is a huge part of anyone's business that can be imperative to saving costs, how you serve your customers. And in each part of these courses, you'll actually be writing part of your business plan as you go. So Sherry mentioned that by the end of 30 weeks, you're going to be ready to launch or have launched your business. You will have a completed business plan written by the end of this program as well, which will help you secure funding if required. So the last course in the fall semester, Essential Business Operations, it officially ends coming into the winter, since that first course is a bit longer. The other 5 courses are 45 hours. So the 4th course is Small Business Financials and Accounting, usually everyone's favorite topic, but a really important one. So you'll learn about financial statements and preparing those for receiving funding, but also understanding pricing, because that's important to your numbers, understanding cash flow. Technology will be part of this course as well, so choosing how to maintain your numbers and understand your numbers as you go. When we move into the 5th course, it's called Building a Community of Practice. And Sherry mentioned when she was talking about cohort, community, industry. So in this course, you're really going to start to understand your strengths and weaknesses, building a team around you. How can you find mentors and industry professionals to help you? Who do you need on your team? And we've also put a focus around work-life balance in this course. We hear a lot from entrepreneurs about burnout and a lot of mental health issues, and just a lot of feeling like you're on a roller coaster sometimes all by yourself. So in this 5th course, it's really about setting some groundwork for success that will get you through some tough times as an entrepreneur. And the 6th and final course is Launching Your Business. So this is where you're out in the market testing and actually launching. So it's the final pieces of market validation, and you should be ready to go. So you're looking at April, May of 2023. So within a year from now, if you're sitting on this webinar right now, you could be running your own business, and that is our hope for you for sure. All right, so just to review the program costs, so you can see here the tuition is $1,050, but the Alumni Association is funding the tuition in the 2022-2023 academic year. So NSCC alumni are qualified to take this program and receive it for free. So you can see there are small additional fees, $43 for student association fee, $20 for a parking pass, but the tuition for the actual program is being covered by the Alumni Association. So pretty exciting that you're able to access this kind of intensive program, Certificate of Professional Studies, launch your business, all with the support of the Alumni Association. Megan, I think it's back to you. Oh, yeah. Sorry, there's another $50. I see your mouse moving. Another $50 college service fee in there as well.
Totally, but so good to know that there's so much funding available for this to be a great opportunity for people to jump on. Absolutely. So a couple more things I wanted to touch on just before we get to questions. Is that this is part of a larger webinar series that we're doing where we're focusing on programs, we're focusing on campuses, but we also have webinars coming up that have themes like about student life, about scholarships, for instance. So if, for instance, you know, this is a program you're really excited about, you'd like to apply, and then later on you want to learn a little bit more about, say, some award opportunities, then keep an eye on this page, because you can always register for additional webinars and, you know, just learn a little bit more about different aspects of being a student at the college. We also have lots of information that we share through social media channels, so student success stories, different, you know, highlights of what's happening at all of our campuses across the province. So certainly take a look. Our YouTube channel as well has a lot of great information about students in their programs, also some campus highlights. So if you, for instance, weren't able to come and visit us at the Ivany campus to check things out, you could watch a video that gives you a sense of what all of those facilities look like, because it is a really beautiful building on the waterfront in Dartmouth. Now, this is the recruitment email address that everyone can see on the screen right now, recruitment@nscc.ca. Feel free to take note of that, because we're always happy to answer any questions that you have, after today's webinar as you go through that application process. But I wanted to invite anyone who has been tuning in right now, if there are questions, things you'd like to ask Luella and Sherry, feel free to type those into the question box. I will open them up right now. I can see we've got some questions coming in. And just keep sending those, and I'll pitch them right now to Sherry and Luella. So first question, this person is asking, with the business that you're bringing to that business concept forum to hoping to develop in the program, does it have to be related to the program that you took at NSCC?
Absolutely not. In this case, what we're looking for is for people to bring an idea. We know that regardless of the program that they would have taken, that the learning from that program will still apply to the business ideas that people are looking to pursue. So no, there does not have to be a direct connection between the programs that students took in the past.
Right, great. And there's no, my sense, and the question coming in, is there a rule about how long ago you would have graduated in order to qualify?
There is not. I believe to qualify, you had to have been registered as a student taking a course or semester as a minimum. And then for a maximum, it could be any of our programs at NSCC at any given time.
Cool. And you mentioned a bit of like a mentorship component to some of the courses. What does that look like? I mean, I'd imagine that some students are coming in with, like, just in terms of the student body, lots of different types of business ideas. They may not be related to one another. How does the mentorship come in to be specific to everyone's individual kind of goal?
I can start, Sherry, and you can join in. So within the network of NSCC and any instructor who's going to be teaching any of these courses, there'll be strong connections to community and to business industry. So there are individuals out there who are business coaches. So whether the idea is in the retail or technology, in culinary, wherever the idea lands, there'd be some business principles, cash flow, marketing, that we would have a network of people to invite and be able to work with our students within the program. And also within each cohort, if there are 20 students within the program, you may not know anything about one of your fellow students' ideas, but you may be really great at social media. So we plan on pulling out those strengths and weaknesses, having that Tuesday class time where you're in person for a lot of feedback, presenting, getting constructive criticism from your peers, from the guests from industry that may come in. So we'll invite a large group of people at different times. Some will be service providers, some will be industry specific, some will be business coaches, and that will hit on everybody's individual needs. Sherry, I don't know if you had anything to add there.
I think the only thing that I would add is that we have some formalized agreements with some community partners to bring in dedicated mentors to our students. So in this case, we would look at what your needs are and determine what's the most appropriate mentor to help you in that. And then we would go to those dedicated resources and source that for you. So there is a strong role of mentorship throughout the entire course program list. But in some cases, it might be very specific to what your needs are.
I guess I would also mention too that in the 5th course, the Building a Community of Practice, it's actually going to be the students' role to seek out individuals that matter to them. So we will introduce all of the students to several industry partners. They'll be introduced to each other. But in that 5th course, the students will have to recognize who they need on their team and do a little homework in finding who they're going to invite to be part of their community of practice.
What a good opportunity for networking.
In fact, one of the learning outcomes in that 5th course is about networking.
And what about, people, of course, are going to be in Dartmouth and Halifax to be taking the program. Does the business that results, does it need to be local, or could they take that idea and go anywhere?
Anywhere. That's the goal. So we want students to recognize the valuable assets of our regions within our province. You know, in some cases, some students may have interest in taking their business outside of the province, but what we're trying to do here is to provide the fundamentals and the connections and the resources to be able to develop that business and then launch it wherever it makes most sense for the business and for the student.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I would say too that I think some of the partners that we'll bring in throughout the course may not be Dartmouth and Halifax. There are partners, there are service providers, there are industry professionals right across the province. Tuesdays we plan to be in person, but we also have that opportunity to be in that Teams enabled classroom to invite people into the room with us virtually, and then Thursdays online synchronous. So there'll be an opportunity wherever the resources are to sort of reach across the province.
And you mentioned, you know, being prepared throughout the program that you're going to have a business plan to potentially go and seek out funding. Are there funding opportunities that are specific to folks in Nova Scotia, or would everyone be heading to a bank? I'm imagining there's maybe a few different services that students could tap into.
So there's definitely.
Sorry, go ahead, Carrie. I was just going to say that's actually obviously part of the content delivery from the instructor in the fourth course, but part of the students' homework as well. There are definitely alternative sources of funding, service providers, government, banks. They change sometimes on the year, but that will be part of that exploration, is getting the students to identify what is appropriate for them, looking at whether you want to borrow and get debt, or whether you want to seek out investors with equity. So that will all be explored throughout the course as well. Sherry, I cut you off there. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think you answered exactly what I was going to say. You know, there are certain funders based on needs and various criteria, and we'll do our best job to make sure that all participants are aware of who they are so that they can determine themselves which ones are the best fit. You know, we have funders that support, for example, underserved communities. We have other funders that, you know, are certain focus on industry. So we want to make sure that students know, you know, what's out there, and then they can tap into the ones that make most sense.
Great. I mean, with this great like tuition, essentially free tuition opportunity that's coming up, and then knowing, you know, that there are lots of avenues for funding afterwards, and with the program being part-time, it would allow someone who, you know, has a business idea, but you don't know where to start with funding. There's more, you know, skill building you'd like to do, but just to know that you can head through, not be paying the tuition that, you know, you expect to pay with many programs, and to be able to work part-time as you go through. I'd imagine that that makes kind of an easy transition for a future entrepreneur. That's a great setup. Wonderful. Well, I don't see any more questions coming in, but Sherry and Luella, is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off today?
Sherry? I guess I would say partly what you mentioned, Megan. I would just reiterate that, you know, sometimes people think that being an entrepreneur, that being an entrepreneur means taking risks, but we like to say calculated risks or moderate risks, educated, researched. So it is nice to have a passion and a business idea. This is probably the most calculated risk you can take, because you've got free tuition, you've got time to focus on your idea, you could work part-time, essentially you could even maybe work full-time. We'll probably see some students do that. And so you're starting your business in a really good financial position, in a really good supported position, and one where you've had so much time to focus on it. So I think it's an incredible opportunity that's never been offered to our students before.
I would echo that, and I would also stress the safety in this program. So, you know, the college is a safe environment. It allows you to dabble in a, you know, in an entrepreneurial pathway, but in a safe setting, so that if you find along the way that it's not for you, then, and you've determined that, you know, I think I need to step away from this, we feel that's just as successful as launching your business. You know, you've given the opportunity to launch and work within this business idea in that safe environment, and we, you know, either way, we want to celebrate that success. So, we often tell students that just because if you decide at the end you do not launch a business, well, we feel like you've, completed in a very positive way as well.
Yeah, the support piece sounds really big, to my ears, because not only do you, of course, have the support of faculty and mentors, but being able to move through as a cohort, everyone working on that same, same challenges and struggles and new exciting things together. That's, I imagine, something that would carry on those relationships after graduation as well. Completion, yeah. Nice long-term community building. Cool. Oh, I see one more question that's just popped in. Let's make sure that we get this. Oh, great. So here's someone who's asking a question about, have we had any examples of successful startups in the past from this program? But this program is just being launched. It is the first year. So there is anyone who's coming this September, this will be the first cohort. So we don't have any, past success stories. But I'm sure you could both speak to, there have been, so many people coming through, say, other business programs at the college who've gone through to do some really great things afterwards. So I can only imagine this will be, replicated just in the form of a new program.
Yes, for sure. So we have some other programs that are, supporting students in ventures. And, we've seen everything from sushi restaurants. We've seen, a lot of horticulture and agriculture-based businesses. We've seen jewelry. We've seen, trades-related businesses. We've seen a kind of variety of scope as well. So, small, smaller sized part-time businesses that maybe are hobby-focused, whereas others might be, a little bit larger scale with employees. So it's all over the spectrum. But, what we have seen is that, working together, building that community of cohort community, and accessing those community-based resources supports all of those businesses. So it doesn't matter the scale or the size of the business, just that you have an interest and you have an idea.
I think too, in my past experience as an instructor, as a facilitator, that when you get signed up for something and you have other people working on the same goal, it holds you accountable. So it's support, but it's also a little bit of positive peer pressure. So even though you may not have paid for it, because you're with others, it's going to keep you moving along towards that goal. And hopefully that's the goal that you want. And like Sherry said, if you come to find that the business idea is just not going to make it in market, or it's just not going to be for you, that's okay too. We consider that a success. But the great thing about the formalization of this program is that it will sort of bring you to the point that you need to get to. Whereas if you were just going along on your own with no sort of deadlines from an instructor that needs your financial statements, it might take you years to get there, and we hope to get you there in 30 weeks.
Yeah, great. What a nice sort of incubator for all of these ideas, right? Things will move fast, I'm sure. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for sneaking that last question in at the end. I don't see any more coming through, but Sherry and Luella, I really appreciate you having the time and sharing all this information with us. If anyone does want to, talk more about the program, maybe you have really specific questions, email us in recruitment, and I'd also be happy to connect you with Sherry or Luella if your questions are going to be best answered by these two. But I'd like to thank everyone for being a part of this today, and certainly stay in touch. All right, bye everyone. Thank you.